Namaste. This is Srilata Shankar in our Leadership Talk series in collaboration with My Startup TV. My guest today is Ramesh Loganathan, a very well known personality both in the industry and academia. Ramesh currently works with IIITH as a senior professor. Ramesh, it's my privilege and honor to have you as my guest. Welcome to our Leadership Talk series.
Thank you, Srilata, for doing this. I think it's nice to bring some of these perspectives out from different people. Looking forward to the conversation.
Ramesh, I've known you for over 2 decades now. It's wonderful knowing you, and it's really nice having you as my guest. Ramesh, if you could start from your degree and PG and then continue further, please.
Yeah, so I was an engineer not by choice, by default. Right? I always say many of us, unfortunately, at the age of 17, don't know what we want in life. So yes, I did like math. I liked physics. I like machines. I like mechanical engineering. And so kind of it was an acceptable choice, but not that I was super passionate about it or knew what I was doing in life. It was just that all the other options were less, right? This was the least repulsive, I should say, not the most attractive, right? And did engineering, did electrical engineering, and that is not something that I ever enjoyed. I like machines, always I've enjoyed machines more. And the fact that I like physics, the physical parts of it. Electrical engineering is physics, yes, but it is still hidden. I like to see things, touch and feel. And again, finished engineering somehow, got some decent score, and got into masters. And again, by default, not that I picked. I said, okay, I want to do it in a city, and my marks were not good enough for some of the IITs I wanted, but I could get into Gindi. So I joined Gindi also by default, not because I wanted to be there or wanted to do control engineering. And I did like control systems, but not when I joined later. And again, my first job was by default, and I got into a sister concern of TCS, Westinghouse, which was a large industrial automation company in those days.
Sure.
And Tata's had started. So again, campus placement. Got the chance and it seemed good. And the offer was for an office in Uti, Kunur. I said, why not? And so that's how it started. Later things changed, but all the way up to my first, second job was almost things happening by default until my second job.
Ramesh, you mentioned you took Triple E in your engineering, and you also mentioned that you like the feel of things. So, my question is, why didn't you take mechanical and why did you take Triple E?
I didn't get it. Simple.
Okay.
So if I got maybe not even that. While joining, I don't think I even looked for mechanical. Those that year that I was joining, EC was the top choice. CS was still not a big thing, just beginning those days. So and mechanical I didn't get.
Sure.
It was still at least the college I joined. Or many places, mechanical was more preferred than EE. So it's strictly by default. I didn't get mechanical, and I didn't want to go to any place. I wanted to study in one of the university colleges. And in the university colleges that I wanted, I was not getting mechanics. Few other colleges I was getting, like in Anandpur, I was getting every branch, but I didn't want to go there. And yeah, so I didn't get mechanical. And I didn't, like I said, I was not thinking a whole lot. The fact that I like machines also I discovered after joining college, not before.
You mentioned you were working in TCS. If you could speak about your journey in TCS and your corporate career, please.
So it was not TCS, it was a sister concern of Tata's. Tata's were a joint venture partner, and TCS was the executing side of it. It was called Westinghouse Tata Indus, started by an NRI. Westinghouse and Tata's were part of it. And so we were supposed to be working on process control for large plants, industrial plants and chemical plants, which Westinghouse was a big player in the process automation space. And we were supposed to focus on process control side of it, the software to manage these large plants and factories. And it was good. We're in Ooty, I mean, Kunur, the office was in a bungalow. Everybody was a campus hire. It's virtually a hostel atmosphere. Only difference, we had good money on hand, a
Right.
lot of time. We're just going through training and few hours a day. We had time to explore. So beautiful. It was a wonderful time. Personally, not professionally.
Sure.
It was first job, so we were not thinking much. Then got a chance to go to US through TCS and not in process control because they couldn't get projects in process control. It was in regular mainframe software. And I was in IBM those days for some time, almost a year, 9, 10 months. And most of the time while I was getting paid, TCS was getting paid, I was not doing any work.
Right.
And it was initially it was fine. Then slowly I realized like, what am I doing with my life? It's a year since I graduated, and like, okay, first 6 months went off having fun in OT. It's about time I start to do something. I mean, I can't be just getting paid and not do anything meaningful. And it started to bother me. And anyway, once it got over, when I went back, I said, I have to change. I can't do this. And then my parents were in Bangalore at the time, and I said, okay. And Bangalore was an IT hotbed, so I said, why not? Looked around. One of my classmates was in a small company that those days was doing system software. Like, I mean, like operating systems and such, which was not many would work on those. And so she told me, you come, you like this, you join this company. And at an offer in Infosys, early days of Infosys, I would have been one of those early ESOP. Had I joined at that time, they would have been handsomely rewarded when they went public some years later. But I said, no, it's again a large company, not very large for those days, right?
Sure.
This was
Sure.
91. In 91, they were not that big. But I still said this was a 40-member company. So I said, I would like to join this company. And that was the first time I started to enjoy work. Amazing company and very, very good understanding of systems. And I had the chance to work on a project where we're building a new database server from scratch, right? Like Oracle. We're building it from scratch.
You mentioned Oracle,
It's like Oracle
right?
database those days. Oracle was already there. And there's a Norwegian company that had funded it, and the Norwegian was driving it. It's a small team, a 5-member team, including this Norwegian. We were building a database server from scratch. It was a fantastic experience, like a lot of my foundational understanding of systems engineering, software design, architecture, programming, all of it happened in those 2.5 3 years. A wonderful experience. Had a very nice mentor. This Norwegian was the one designing, so got a good sense of how to design systems from the way he used to think and design. And then we also had one of the founders of the company, Integra, was very, very good. And he is the one that taught me programming in a way, right? C and such.
What was the company's name, Ramesh?
Integra
Integral.
Microsystems.
Okay.
And enjoyed it, but then the US bug bit. And like after a few years, decided to move to the US. Then again, for a brief while, I was outside the conveyor belt and then again jumped right back onto the conveyor belt. Got my H1, went to companies. I was in New York for some time, short time, then went to Houston. Had a nice opportunity to work. That's where I got introduced to distributed computing, though it was services. Between Compaq, I spent a little more than a year in Compaq and another year and a half in Shell, which is an oil company. And in both places, I was working on a distributed solution platform underneath. The solution was being built, but I was handling the platform underneath. So again, I realized that I just enjoyed that. It was very nice
Sure.
because that required an understanding of 3 4 different parts. You need to understand the database on one side, you need to understand the system logic on one side, the user interface on the other side, and you're sitting in the middle and working on multiple machines. And I just loved it. And this was in 95, 96. And till date, I'm in that technology space. The course I teach here in IIIT 30, 35 years later, yes, one of the courses is on distributed computing. We build a platform. And the
Oh,
inspiration, motivation for that was the mid 90s when I started to work on this. And and then my friend was in Bay Area. He said, like, what are you doing there? You come work, come to Bay Area. And so then I moved to Bay Area. I had database background, so joined an Oracle's competitor called Informix. Very, very good company, amazing tech. Oracle was more successful, but Informix had much better tech. And large company, not as big as Oracle, but nearly half the size of Oracle those days. And so again, very nice opportunity. I was working in performance engineering, where I got a chance to look at different parts of Informix. And which is what I'm good at. I'm good at understanding many different things. So more and more it got reinforced in the coming years that that's my strength and I should play to my strength. You give me one thing to do, I may not be half as effective as doing something that involves understanding 5 things. And there are such roles everywhere. So I think they're called integration broadly. So, and that's what I was doing there. Performance was across the product, and I was very good at it. And then when I was in Informix, when I got to know about Pranati, which in the early days of Java was building a Java app server from Hyderabad. In 99, when they built and took it to Java conference in San Francisco, it's a huge conference those days. There were only 2 companies and hugely kind of huge visibility. One was a company well known by then called WebLogic, which Oracle later acquired, and the other was Pramati, this small company, 10-member company from Hyderabad that had built an app server that was being showcased at that conference. Huge attention. I got to know because Informix got to know about it,
hmm.
and they started talking to them. And then my boss told me, like, look, there's this company from India. The CTO is in town. Do you want to meet? And
Hmm.
I met. I was super impressed with what they were doing.
This is while you were in US. Am I right?
This was while I was still in US. I was working from Singapore, but
Right.
my work was in US. The last 1, 2 years, one and a half years, I was working remotely from Singapore, but I used to visit a lot. My job was still in the US, and I met the founder in the US, and then our group got involved. So I started meeting him even for that thread that we were having to license that app server for Informix. A few months later, Informix decided not to go with it. I mean, the group recommended, but the CEO said no. He said, I want to work with WebLogic. And by then, I'd met the CTO a few times, and I loved what they're doing. And we were coming back. We were in Singapore also as a transit stop. When I told my boss I'm going back to India, he said, no, no, work remotely for some time. And we are coming to Bangalore. Because of Pramati, I said, this is the company I want to work. And
Mm.
then, like, talked to my wife. Thankfully, she agreed. And just before moving, more or less, few weeks, we decided that instead of Bangalore, we'll move to Hyderabad. And we came here, that was 2000. And it's been a phenomenal journey since. Pramati's experience was super rich. I was heading engineering, amazing team, amazing founders, both Jay and Vijay. And they created a culture. I mean, that's still my inspiration as a work culture. And
Sure.
have very high bars on one side and still empower, enable on the other side. And how to inspire a high bar. It's high bar is not something that you can just set saying like, look, you're not doing it. You have to inspire, right? And then a very nice kind of balance of setting high expectations, doing it credibly. You should do it from the front. You can't say, I will be sloppy, but you do great job, right? And
Sure.
you have to do this. Phenomenal, extremely inspiring leaders. And in many ways, whatever I am today in terms of leadership, a lot of it is drawn just by observing them, the two of them. And this defines them. I mean, set a high bar, an inspiring kind of inspirationally high bar or inspired high bar. And on the other side, empower, which is often they don't go with each other. Like if you're too demanding, you tend to micromanage. If you're micromanaging, you don't tend to have high bars or high goals. So and then we had our own issues. Because the 2002 recession hit us hard. We were just getting the US market, raised money, and then recession happened. So we couldn't capitalize on that. The second round funds that we raised. Those days, Pramati raised 2 rounds of solid VC funding from the US, both of them. And
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
those days. And even today, there are very few companies that even attempt what Pramati did in terms of trying to create technology,
Sure.
right? Platforms. They all go build applications and there's end solutions. Very few venture into building technology platforms. And Pramati did it those days. Unfortunately, part of it got acquired. It was the lifeline that we got. We're struggling, and so I went with acquisition. That's how Progress happened. Progress is another 30-year-old database company. And in the middleware space, at the time they came to us for the middleware product, they wanted a development tool. And so Acqui hired half of the company. So in that process, Pramati got a lifeline and bounced back. And but half of the company went, and I was leading that. It was very important for Pramati's survival, so I decided to do it myself. We had to make sure it worked well, and it did work well. And that grew. So I had now my own offshore experience also working with a product company, setting up a remote lab, growing it. And it was a good experience. Often we used to be considered when there were development labs in 7 different locations in 3 or 4 countries. By and large, we were widely recognized as the most innovative group in the company by the head of engineering, and the head of products, even by the CEO. So it was a good thing to do in those days. By 11, 12, we were recognized to be the most innovative group in the company. And which is even today, many companies don't get there that easily. It needs to have a combination of things for it to happen. We end up being just the back office for the company, right? Not doing any frontline work, right? Frontline thinking, new directional products, new products, and all that. Very rarely we get to work in the Indian offices. We were driving some of the new product from there. I was before I left one of our products. I was driving the global product from Hyderabad. And the engineering was in 2, 3 locations. More than half was in Hyderabad, and I was driving the product from here, which also rarely happens. Where you drive a product, you often drive a function. The product owners are elsewhere. So it did well. I had a good run. Parallelly, I was working with IIIT. I started teaching in 2002.
What made you switch from being a corporate employee to the teaching profession? You are a professor in IIITH. What made you do that?
It happened more or less without realizing. I think sometimes nature brings you, right? Universe brings you some things, and this is one of those. I knew IIIT. It was in the news in the first few years. I knew it's a good institution, and that's about it. And I was in the city, but I was just happy. My kids were young, getting them settled. My wife was starting her practice. I had my work. We just had like anybody else, a very, very centered around work and home. I was not doing much else. But then our head of HR was like restless person, and he came and said, "Let's do something." Because we're already getting interns from IIIT. He said, "Why not we engage more?" And he said, "Let's do a middleware lab." And he had done the initial conversation, brought me in only after there was interest from the institute side. And then I got involved, not reluctantly, but I got involved later. No, the idea was not mine. It was Pawan's idea. He did the legwork and he pretty much brought it on a platter to me. So when I went, everything was nice. I said, yes, absolutely, why not? Then I took it over from there, started structuring it, and got engaged first year from Pramati. We had set up a middleware lab and started teaching few
Which year was
courses.
this?
2002.
Okay.
And by 2003, like I said, we had our own existential crisis in Pramati. So as a company, we stepped back. But I liked it so much, I continued. And then the year later, I was made adjunct faculty in my individual capacity. Till then, I was just a guest faculty from the
Sure.
lab side. And then, so I still cherish, that's my most cherished, I cherish that letter more than even my degrees.
Right.
Both my degrees. That letter I got saying that I'm now an adjunct faculty, signed by the director, Professor Sangal. I had to call the dean. I knew only one person here at that time in 2004-5. I had called him to find out, sir, what does this mean? I don't, I'm hearing this phrase for the first time. He said, it's just that you're now a full faculty, just that you're
Mm.
adjunct.
Mm.
Otherwise, anything a faculty can do, you can do. I said, what
Mm.
all can a faculty do? He said, you can structure new courses, you can advise thesis students, research students, you can apply for projects, get funding. Just anything that we do, you can do now. I said, wow, that's a nice honor,
Mm.
nice privilege. And and then slowly it increased. Few years later, by then I started getting involved with startups. And in 2008, when the incubator was started here, so Prof. Sangal asked, saying, we're starting the incubator, you're already working with startups, why don't you help us? So I and B.V.R. Mohan Reddy sir were two of the signatories when we formed that society to run the incubator.
Mr. Mohan Reddy, that you mentioned, is the founder of Scient.
Yes, yes. So both of us were involved with that, and it was nice. I was, and slowly my startup involvement increased. By then, Head Start Network was formed around the same time that Repair Incubator started. Head Start Network started, which as one of the founders, 16 founders, the national organization for grassroots efforts around entrepreneurship, early stage entrepreneurship. And then before I knew, I was very, very involved in the early stage ecosystem. I was running the early stage programs for TAI by 2012-13. Hyderabad Angel started. I was involved with that effort and also started hosting those meetings in our office for a few years. And I was so deep into it and it was so enjoyable, the whole process. By 15, 16, I was very, very involved with startups. But it all started with IIIT. And so IIIT was always there. I started structuring courses, changed my courses, and by 12, I was clear that I want to move into academics and want to move to IIIT. At 12, I also started teaching in IIT Hyderabad. I was a guest faculty there teaching one course, but IIIT association was much deeper. And I decided in 12, it took me 4 years to finally move. Because the golden shackles, you have to unshackle yourself. The golden shackles kept me kind of from doing it. Took me quite some time to finally move, and I did in 16. Some opportunity presented, there were changes happening in the company, and like so I said, okay, if not now, why not now? Any time is as good as now, and just took the opportunity and moved. It's been the best decision in my life. 8 years now, more than 8 years, and been so enjoyable. I'm so glad I can do my piece for the institute, and I get much more than what I give. I enjoy everything that's happening here. I enjoy the students, the faculty, very different thinking faculty, very very different thinking faculty. Because I'm involved little bit with bits. I'm involved quite some with IIT Hyderabad and few other institutions over the years. Very different thinking faculty. I think it all comes from the origins. Like Professor Raj Reddy, he's given that Padma Vibhushan in the 90s, the only Indian to get the Turing Award so far. And that was the one in the 90s. And since then, he's
Right.
given 30 more years, very fulfilling years. He is still actively involved. And somebody like that at the helm as the chairman, founding chairman, you can't, even if you have an ego, you have to tuck it in. And so the culture is very different. And then the first director, Professor Sangal, Professor Ahuja was involved from another senior professor from US in the early days. Professor Sangal was the first full-time director. These three were more or less the founding fathers of the institute academically. Otherwise, government did all the legwork. And all three are super accomplished and super grounded. And that set the DNA. Then PJ and others joined. And they all joined because they knew either Professor Rajedi or Professor Sangar
Hmm.
or Professor Raja. They all joined early faculty because they knew one of them. So in a way, there was a alignment of thinking and mindset and such. That set the culture. I think that's the culture of the institute now. I hope we never lose it. So far, it's been preserved, 26 years now. Very interesting culture. Students are taken very seriously. Like PJN says, we believe we are preparing our students for the last job, not the first job.
Right.
So for the last job in their life is what we need to be preparing them for. So things like learning to learn, values, societal connect, personal meaning. You should know why you're doing anything. It's okay, even money is fine. Absolutely nothing wrong with money, but you should know why you're doing it. It can't be happening without realizing the awareness. So some few things which we believe are important in life that will hold them in good stead. And like he says, we would like to prepare them for the last job, not the first job. First job, they anyway, we believe they're ready
We'll
for
get
the
it.
first job at the end of the third semester. They can be as good as any Infosys engineer. So we know they're ready for their first job end of the third semester. But we want to use the 4 years to prepare them for the last job, not the first job. So it's a very different thinking. Enjoy being around. And of course, this gives me a chance to interact a lot with outside world, with the government. I was involved with the government always. I was active in HSIA even before I moved to academics. But in the academics also, I interact. I'm one of the liaison, first person to be connected to anytime some thread starts with government. So it's nice. I'm very, very appreciative of the opportunity, and I do greatly enjoy everything I do here.
Ramesh, I completely resonate with what you mentioned in terms of your passion for teaching. I, in my own small way, teach HR and MBA colleges, and it's extremely gratifying. Teaching is a really gratifying profession. Triple IITH, is it just an undergrad course, or do you have PG courses also?
No, no, we have a very, very strong UG program. We have the only program in the country where it's a research-led undergraduate program. The 4 year program has an honors program where half of the batch gets selected at the end of second year, and they work with a professor like a research student for 2 years.
Sure.
Most of them get publications. We are the only place in the country where almost 25% of the class gets publications. Everywhere else it is 2-3%,
Right.
including well-known places like IIT Madras or IIT Bombay. BTech student getting publications, a very small number. For us, it's 25-30% of the batch gets publications. We have a dual degree program, which is a 5 year program, BTech and MS Berry. So that's a full thesis program. They have to publish to graduate. It's a mini PhD program, but undergrad students. They
Right.
get 2 degrees at once, BTech and MS research, after they publish, defend their thesis and graduate. So almost 40% of our undergrad program is that, about 130, 140 students every year. And then we have a regular MS research program, which is about 60 to 80 or so per year, and PhD, which is about 40 join. So
Right.
our PhD program is only a small part of a research program.
Hmm.
Our undergrad research is the much larger part,
Much.
and the dual degree research. And these are kind of top rankers in JEE publishing papers. So while they lack the depth that a PhD students bring, they bring a lot of agility to that whole process. They can do many, many things that most other research students won't be able to do. And it shows the research output. In spite of being a very young institute, research output, we are higher in CS areas than even ISC or IIT Madras, IIT Bombay. Research output, we are higher than those numbers, both quality and quantity. And
Right.
especially in AI, CS, we are comparable broadly. AI, we rank much higher than everybody else. And mainly because of the faculty on one side, the research focus of the institute, and the undergraduate research program. That gives us a lot of momentum.
Ramesh, you're actively working with the Product Leaders Forum. My first question is that, can you please elaborate on that? My second question is, T Hub closely works with Triple IITH. If you could explain how it works. The part B question is, what is the incubation center and how does the T Hub incubation center work closely with Triple IITH?
So, Product Leaders Forum is one of the communities, very nice community, right? Because product managers, Hyderabad, as not many know that Hyderabad industry is steeped in product companies. When the industry came out of nowhere in the second half of 90s, like we were not even in the national radar until cyber towers came up. And suddenly we were in the news as being kind of a place to go to. Bill Gates coming here and things happening, lot happening. And also numbers grew very significantly. And that cyber tower, that one round building was at those days 70-80% of the whole industry in the city.
Right. Right.
And which was big. It was the largest building in the country for IT. A million square feet was not there anywhere. The buildings were like probably a tenth of that typically anywhere in the country.
Thanks to Chandrababu
And
Naidu.
thanks to Chandrababu Naidu, yes. And in that building, not many know that by 2000, when the building was fully occupied, 99, 2000, 60-70% of the companies there were product companies. The Oracles and the Barnes and the Microsofts, CA, those were the companies in that building. Most of them were product companies and solid tech companies, not service companies. And so that's the grounding. So today we have a lot of, I mean, Amazon or Microsoft or they and Google, when they build the new campus, they'll be having the largest campuses outside of their headquarters in Hyderabad for a good reason, right? I mean, not many know this though. And so product manager is a big part of these companies. And so Product Leaders Forum is to nurture the many other initiatives like that, trying to nurture. We started an MTech in, we call it product design and management. So where most PM programs in the country, product managers, are either in design schools or in business schools. Both don't do justice to it. Design has a very strong design focus. Business schools have a very, very strong market focus. But product manager's job is the convergence. There is technology, business, and design. All three have to converge in a good product manager. So we started an MTech program in product management. It's called Product Design and Management. And it's the fourth batch is right now going through. Three batches graduated. Two batches graduated, third is graduating this year. And fourth just came in last summer. And so we're doing many things around trying to create that whole. So Product Leaders Forum is one of those. Talking about T-Hub, again, like many things, IIIT, not many know that IIIT helped seed the idea of T-Hub. Structure T-Hub. Right? People only know that it was in our campus. Very few know that we actually seeded the idea. The reason even T-Hub's idea came was because of us in one of the early meetings with the government at the time. And then like the idea of doing it on our campus was planted, also saying there's an unfinished building. If you have to build a new incubator, government should build this a place, we can build it very fast. And then government decided to do it. And then we helped in the MOU with the government. We have a whole operating model for T-Hub in the MOU. So very few people know that when T-Hub started, the blueprint was from us, from IIIT. And the reason it was from us was because we by then had a 6-7 year old incubator, one of the oldest incubators in the country. By then, the largest incubator. We had 65, 70 startups in the incubator by 2014 when the idea of T-Hub took seed. And there were hardly any incubator that was that big. I mean, anywhere close, forget that big. And so in the MOU of the government, we also did structure the whole program, what they should do, how and such. And they started with that. After 3-4 months, 6 months, as they started operating, they found other opportunity. Corporate innovation was a big opportunity they found. They started focusing on that. It changed a little afterwards. When they started, they were early stage. We were early stage incubator. They moved to a little bit later stage, revenue stage startups and such. So the focus shifted a little bit. And they evolved. But the starting point was completely, we structured even the T-Hub programs. We gave Srini. Srini went from IIIT incubator.
MSR
so we gave Srini also. No, MSR came later. Srini was Kolipara.
Okay.
The first chief operating officer, he was running our incubator at the time. So when T-Hub finally got operational end of 15, we gave Srini also. Not only did we structure the programs, give all our learnings and such, we also gave Srini. And after that, they were independent. I mean, we didn't have much to do other than the fact that they were on our campus. So they had their own journey. They did very well. So we're a founding institute for T-Hub. Not many know this. And not just a notional founding institute, because there were 4 founding institutions. We are actually the founding institute. We seeded the idea. We kind of and gave our space, saying that this is the fastest way to get it off the ground. We gave our learnings and helped structure it. And at the time, nobody else even had an incubator to even tell what to do. And even the other 3 organizations that were involved, we were the only one that were doing it. So we also gave our learnings and experiences and helped structure it. So in a true sense, we were a founding institute along with the government. Of course, money was all governments.
Ramesh, our audience, a large part of our audience are students from business schools or engineering colleges. What is your advice, your 3 salient points or 3 important advices that you can give to youngsters who want to become an entrepreneur?
So I always say, see, anything in life, it'll be good to find your passion, right? we often end up, especially in our environment, in our entrance-driven kind of high school education system, our uninspiring, at least engineering-wise, extremely uninspiring environment engineering colleges. And so unfortunately, people lose kind of forget even that they had a passion for something, right?
Mhm.
It just from starting from ninth, 10th onwards for 5, 6 years, 2, 3 years, they're not even allowed to think about anything. And then they come into this boring, uninspiring environment where at least they don't get worse, but they don't get any better. And so we don't let them discover their passions. And like, so
Mm.
first thing I would say is like, discover your passions. I mean, like, it's not worth living if there's not something that somebody is passionate about. I mean, you have to, I mean, it is important. Personally, it's very important, but professionally also. And then if you can somehow connect that, I mean, somebody has chosen to be in software field and they like sports. It's not easy to become a professional athlete at that stage in life. But can you connect if you like sports so much in some form? Maybe join a company that is doing sports software or in some form connect. But indulge the passion in the professional life is very, very important. And that passionate intelligence is a starting point for entrepreneurship, right? Because you need the experience. The experience you need as a founder will not come just by doing a job. It will come by doing a job you love. This first thing I would say. In general life, working life, they have to find their passions and somehow connect that to their day jobs.
Sure.
And that is required if at all they were to become an entrepreneur. And becoming an entrepreneur is a fun thing to do. See, like we don't have today our kids, that generation, the current graduating students, don't have the same financial compulsions we had, say, 20 years back. Definitely not what we had 40 years back. 40 years back, we had to work, right? Parents can support only so much, and we had to work to support ours. So that is to not be any more of a burden on parents, in the least. In many cases, we also support the family. We had to work,
Sure.
right? And 20 years back, maybe not that bad a compulsion. You don't have to work to support your family, but you still have to work to support yourself. Today, families can support, right? If somebody wants to do something for 2, 3 years, most families can support them. They're not desperate for them to start earning. Even normal families, right? The middle class, upper middle class families. And so that's an opportunity available. Say, like, can you explore? Work for a couple of years, then explore. It's okay. But you have to explore. So that intent to explore should be there. There should be passion. You can't do a startup. You can do a job with no passion. You cannot do startup without
Well
passion.
said.
The journey is so hard. Only your passion will keep you going. You have to love what you're doing and do it for a very strong reason, whatever be the reason, right? And that is required to keep going in those early years when it's going to be very tough. And so you discover your passion and do something where you build some foundational knowledge, at least for a couple of years, and be willing to do it. You can take that risk. You can afford not to work, right? All the youngsters in the early career, if not right out of college, I would not advise right out of college. 1 or 2 years, they should work for a couple of years. But in the time, start thinking about an idea, start doing some
Mm.
legwork and such. But a couple of years later, they should start. And they can afford to take a couple of years off without being paid.
Right.
Family can support. They're probably living with their family, so they don't have basic household expenses. And they can support. The carrying cost is very low. I know founders that had fantastic jobs that they said no to and took the entrepreneurship journey in the early career. If they're staying with families and that is not a burden for them, just for their own travel and other incidentals, outside eating and social stuff, 30, 40,000, 50,000, much more than enough. You can live a very comfortable life, right? And so many entrepreneurs can do it. You can stay at home and do the journey that stage, but they're not married yet. I would highly encourage them to do it. It's a phenomenal experience. Even out of college, it's okay. But out of college, they should have done some legwork before starting. Don't just
Right.
jump in. It'd be too raw, too kind of like lacking anything required for that. If they're doing out of college, they should have started working on it in the college itself. They've done enough legwork and convinced that that's the right thing to do. Or work for 1 or 2 years, and in those 2 years, curate, develop the idea, do some legwork, build some prototypes, and then do it. But they should do it. I think even if it fails, which mostly it might fail, it's a phenomenal learning. It's a lifetime's learning.
Right. While you mentioned,
And
yes, we.
most importantly, since it indulges your passion
Mm.
in a very serious way, it strokes. They will be alive after that, fully alive after that, for sure.
You rightly mentioned that families can support an young entrepreneur, but he needs to invest 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs or even more. How does one take in this period of no salaries a lot of investments for the first 2 or 3 years because bank loans and venture capitalists will invest in your company only after 3 years. What are your thoughts?
There's not much investment required. I mean, there's always be a founding team. One person cannot and should not do this. When 2, 3 people come, that's the sweat equity. They are the ones building it. For the first year, they're not hiring anybody. If they need some small funds to hire some interns, maybe first 1 or 2 engineers, I'm sure they can raise. Family itself will support. Most families can support that much. 10, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, they can support. Uh, but at that stage, unless first thing, they have to be convinced enough to quit their jobs, right? They should have done enough that they can at least convince the family to put 10, 20 lakhs. Using that money and the first few people that they got on board, they have built enough, they can get these first few customers. That's required for them to raise money, which won't take 3 years. If they do the right things and they're not terribly unlucky, 1.5 years also they should get to a point where they can raise some.
Can you please throw light on how T Hub helps young entrepreneurs and how does the incubation center help them?
T-Hub is just one of the enablers, right? I mean, it's okay. I don't think they should do anything because T-Hub is around. It's one of the avenues. When you need the help, look at what all help is available, where is it available, go take it. I don't think they should do anything because T-Hub is around. It's one of the avenues available for sure. They should do it because they like doing it. They want to do it. And then look at avenues of support at every stage where they need support. And T-Hub will definitely be one of the avenues. There are many more avenues. There are 40, 30 plus incubators in the city. And T-Hub is one of them. Of course, most visible, then the largest. But there are many other, so it depends. They're doing in agri, they're very, very good agri focus. They're doing something in life science, they're very, very good life science focus. So other niche things, they should look for the support they need and find, I mean, they should understand the support they need and look for where the support is available and go take it wherever it is. And it may very well be T-Hub, but not only T-Hub.
What are your future plans? What do you envisage for IIITH and your own future?
I mean, so I've been getting job offers recently, right? For some reason. I was not getting offers until recently, but lately I've been getting offers last some months. And there's often somebody I know well or somebody that I should not be I don't like to be rude to anybody, but these are people also that just doing their job with the executive search. And many times it is people I know. So I tell them, look, if I had to just look back on what I started to do here, right? And in my personal goal for the results I would like to help create, I tell I'm probably midway there, 8 years and midway there, right? Even if I assume I leverage all the learning from the last 8 years and fast track the next 8 years, it may come another 4 years at least. So I tell them I can't even think of anything else until I'm done with this. So, and research translation is my focus. I want to make sure there are deep tech startups, right? Not just coming from IIIT, of course, but anywhere. I've actively engaged the ecosystem even now. I'm on the IIT Hyderabad incubators board. So it gives me a chance to influence some of what they do. IIIT is completely, I'm the one driving it also on the innovation side. So if it fails, it fails. I'm the only one to blame. So I can't say that we were not allowed to do things or there's no excuses. If it fails, it fails. It's completely on me. I can do anything I want to do here. And we're trying a lot. So trying to create startups from research, trying to create deep tech, deep science startups that are connected to research and get an amplification. They might started outside research, but it can be connected research to amplify. So that ecosystem, that's why most of what I do is not visible outside these days. So they're quietly happening on the backside. IIIT incubators transformed in the last, we started the journey when T-Hub started 8 years back. First 3, 4 years, we did some things, but last 3, 4 years beginning to work. And like now we are increasingly, everything we do has a very strong deep tech connect. And like today, from almost no faculty engaged, we have 25 of our faculty engaged as mentors, right? That at least meet one startup a month or more. And and that's a transformation journey. It's still not that many deep tech startups. I want to see a lot more happen. Of course, I'd like to see them happen from our own research, but anywhere it happens in the city is good. Anywhere in the country is good, but of course, my area of interest and work is city right now. I would like to see more and more happen. We're trying many things, most failed, but it doesn't stop us from trying. We recently did the Mission 10X. Didn't work as well as it was an ecosystem effort. Didn't work as well as we hoped for, but still it was something we tried. I think collectively can we take 10 startups and amplify them tenfold? And 10 deep tech, deep science startups and amplify them tenfold. So I keep doing stuff outside. But what are things I do in Triplet is not visible outside much because quietly things are happening and results will show. It will take some time. So that's why I would like to see more and more deep tech, deep IP, deep research startups come out and become successful, become known. In that process, the city becomes known as a place for such startups, right? And somewhere Triplet is part of it, even better. The Triplet is a place, like I say, like you look at sciences, IKP or CCMB, and they are very good for sciences. Agri, we have like very, very strong agri incubators between the agri university here, IKISAT, Manage and few others. We have 8 agri incubators in the city, and 2, 3 of them are really big. So if somebody agrees, they should be there. If somebody is working with deep tech, with AI and such, they should be in IIIT or IIT Hyderabad. Broader engineering IIT Hyderabad is very good for if you're doing something in other disciplines of engineering. CS, of course, IIIT is better. So these are all beautiful enablers in the city. And I would love to see, I'm doing what I can do, but so are others. Collectively, if we can become the place for deep tech, deep science startups with visible results, that's the day I'm looking forward to. Very slow journey, very, very, very slow. But things are getting, like I said, 2 years back, maybe 1 or 2 faculty were involved with CIE, our incubator. Today, almost 20, 25 faculty are involved. So that's a nice shift that took us like long time to get to 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 20 has taken us a year. So I think it's showing the right trend. Hopefully, next couple of years, we will see more and more of these. One of our startups went to YC, raised 5 million from Google Ventures, which is the first time it's happening. In any of us started raising that kind of money itself is first time. Doing it through YC and their Google Ventures, even better. So one happened now. Hopefully, a few more will happen in coming years. So we're seeing in all respects, our efforts are on, right? And we work a lot with corporates. We have a very good tier plus, phenomenally good corporate programs, and still we are able to find a niche with corporates. We call it three-way co-creation, right? Corporate, research, and the startups together creating a solution for a corporate, for an enterprise. So three-way co-creation for an enterprise, by the enterprise, supported by research and startup. And we facilitate. So it's a model we're slowly seeing traction. We're trying many things, and for us, that's very, very hard because Tier does a phenomenally good job with corporate programs. With Tier around, for us to communicate value for a corporate program, supplementing what Tier does is not easy. We managed to do that, and slowly this interest is increasing. So we'll keep doing what we're doing at IIIT, outside IIIT in the city, and hope we get the needed traction, results, and the visibility.
You're very passionate about technology, and I've heard you speak in various forums. When is your next book coming?
I don't know. It's too much effort. I did write a book many years back. I did publish a book. Too much effort. And
For a
secondly,
person like you, should be very fluid.
I can, but again, the juices have to flow. When it flows, it flows. But I'm sure if I decide to do it, some point in the next coming months, it will flow. Okay, I can't decide which day it will flow, but someday I'm sure it will flow. Some things will come out. But I would like to do a book that is needed and that will get read.
Will it be on
Right?
technology or something
No,
related to
if
culture?
I write, it won't be on technology. If I write, it will be on, I don't believe in general gyan, so it won't be on things like passion and all. If I write, it will be around research-led products, some facet of it, entrepreneurship on one end of it, translating research on the other end, something in between. If at all, if I do, I'm not thinking about it. But if
And
I
what
do, that's
about
what I would like
India's
to.
growth, if you would like to write something about that?
I don't know if I'm qualified to write or if I know enough to write about it. I can talk about the technology ecosystem, which is what I've said, like research-led startup ecosystem, deep tech, deep science, deep IP ecosystem. That I understand enough. So if I write, it'll be something around those in whatever facet I write.
Ramesh, Modi ji has been speaking about 5 trillion economy. What are your thoughts on that?
I think we're in the right direction. See, we need to put, as a service economy, we've done very well. It's both the blessing and also like both boon and bane, right? Boon because the services led by software industry and all the other services has fueled our economy last 30, 40 years, right? And it's taken us to where we are today. So no doubt we needed it. We needed that economic infusion, which it has done, right? Very, very well. I think now it will continue to grow, not at that fast clip last 20, 30 years, but it will continue to grow, right? At some more average, moderate pace, which is good for us still. I mean, if we can beat the our own growth rate and the global growth rates, then it's a good thing. It's contributing to the economy, which it will do. If our growth rate is 6%, global growth rate is less than that, industry will grow at 8 to 10% for the coming years, IT industry at least. But rightly so, the recognition is that like we can't be a services provider to the world alone. That's important for us. There are people that are happy doing those jobs. There are companies that are happy to doing those kind of type of activity. The world needs it. We can deliver. So we will do that. We can't be doing just that, which is the status until now, right? We have to grow both in terms of our own innovation, our own products on the software side. Manufacturing is a big thing.
Exactly. I was just going to say that we are also switching to manufacturing in a large context.
Yes. So one of the very well-known leaders from the city was telling, look, we don't have to manufacture our own products. Today, the factories are all assembly lines, right? All the building blocks come from, components come from other countries and they just assemble. Can we now go to the next level? Right? If you're building a car here, when we say we're building, we're only assembling. Can we go to next level? All these subsystems can be manufactured here. And his whole point was like, it does not be our own products. Even a company from outside the country is manufacturing here. It's a good starting point. So can we move up the value chain, right? In this case, or down the value chain, get all the source manufactured here. Then at some point, we'll start designing and manufacturing our own. The first thing is to start manufacturing. Like if a car has 1,000 component subsystems, can all the 1,000 subsystems be manufactured here? Today, only the low value ones are manufactured here. Many of the big ones are imported. Now can we start? So he's saying like, can we go tell that company from wherever they are to come and set up a plant instead of sending it in a ship? Can they manufacture here? They're all okay to do it because there's financial advantage for that.
Can we beat China at any stage?
Probably not. I don't think we should even try. So they had a lot of other factors playing for them. I don't think we should even try. We can't beat. I think we should go more on the value side, more on our own, what we need, right? And offset, incentivize, because they're doing at some scale, because they have so much capacity, they're doing dumping now, right? Which is not allowed. So can we put in enough safeguards so we prevent dumping at least, right? Because they can manufacture a large scale, they should not be giving it us at less than the cost, because they have that and they're willing to lose some. Prevent that and encourage locally manufacturing. Right, things are happening. I'm sure it'll all pan out.
Sure.
It was wonderful talking to you, Ramesh, today. I'm enriched with your thoughts and perspectives. I'm sure my audience will also be enriched. Thanks for your thoughts and perspectives, and thanks for your time. It was wonderful having you as my guest today.
Thanks so much, Lalitha. Thanks. My pleasure being here. Greatly enjoyed the conversation. Wish your series the very best.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to my Startup TV.